Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We had finished the first 5 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. That's where we stopped. The first five verses, the first 2 verses were referring to the Quran. Alif Lam Mim. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. Then the following 3 verses basically talked about the qualities of those people who are described as muttaqeen, God conscious, God fearing people. We talked about that. And this is the first class of people. And then the second class will be talked about in the following verses, which are the kuffar, the total disbelievers. And those are mentioned in a couple of verses as well. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. These 2 verses talk about the kuffar. Then the following verses, which are 13 verses, will be talking about the hypocrites, the munafiqeen. Then the following verses will be talking about the people of the previous scriptures. And so these are the 4 classes of people with regards to their stance and their position when it comes to the Quran. Either they believe in it and become from the muttaqeen, or they totally disbelieve in it, and those are the kuffar, or they claim to be believers and in reality they are not, and those are the munafiqeen. And of course there's a special class of the disbelievers who are Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the previous scriptures, who are still classified within the class of the classification of the kuffar, but they have special rulings pertaining to them, as we know from the Sharia, that they have other rulings that do not apply to the rest of the kuffar. For instance, you're allowed to marry a Jew or a Christian woman. We're allowed to eat their slaughtered animals, and so on. And they have good background about Allah's revelations and prophethood and the hereafter. They have a book that has lots of what was revealed to the previous prophets, and with additions and deletions and fabrications also included within it. So they are a special class of the kuffar. When we come to them, we will talk about them. Now, so the second class are the kuffar who are bent on rejecting Allah and His Messenger. Some kuffar could believe in Allah, but they just reject the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or reject prophethood, or reject Allah's revelations, but they believe in the presence of the Creator and even the oneness of the Creator. Do you know what those kind of kuffar are called? The ones who believe in the Creator but do not believe in messages or prophethood. What are those called? Huh? Rububiyin. In Arabic they call rububiyin. What are they called in English? Deism. You know, are you familiar with the word deism? No, they believe in the deity, like a Rabb. There's a creator for this universe, but he created the universe and has nothing else to do with it. He just looks after it, and we are to live our life in whatever way we want. Those are kuffar as well. Those are kuffar, okay? The fact that they believe in the creator does not bring them into the fold of Islam until they have to believe all the arkan al-iman, to believe that Allah has sent messengers, that there's prophethood, that there's books. They have to believe in the Quran, the final book, and so on. So Allah says about those kuffar, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. The word kufr in Arabic comes from concealment or covering, and that is why even the farmers in Arabic are called kuffar. يُعْجِبُ الْكُفَّارَ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُ in Surah Al-Hadid. Kuffar in this verse of Surah Al-Hadid refers to the farmers, because they bury the seed in the ground and they cover it with the earth, and that's because of this concealment or covering of the seeds. That's called kufr, taghtiyah. Even if you go to the countryside where there's lots of trees that you can't see the ground because of the density of the trees, that's called kafr in Arabic, called kafr. Even you use it in your language in Iraq as well, kafr? Yeah, kafr. We use it in Egypt as well. That is because the kuffar, the signs of Allah are there, but they deliberately ignore them as if they do not exist. as if they try to conceal all the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal in creation that they see around them, in the universe, in themselves, in the incidents that happen in front of their eyes that lead them to belief in Allah, but they totally ignore all this as if it doesn't exist. They totally give a blind eye to all this. That's why when you read Surah Al-Fatiha, Rabbul Alameen, what did we say about Alameen? Alameen comes from Alam or Alama, and the root comes from Ilm, comes from knowledge. Ilm, same root. Alameen, Ilm, which means knowledge, because everything that Allah has created gives us some form of knowledge about the Creator. When you see something that is created, you know there's a Creator for it. When you see that it has sophistication, then you know that this Creator has expertise and has knowledge and has wisdom and so on. You learn so many things just by looking at Allah's signs. These are ayat of Allah Azza wa Jal. So they conceal those ayat that they see in front of their eyes. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. They don't want to listen also to the verses of Allah when they are recited. They don't want to ponder. So al-qalb, this is a site of pondering and reflection. They don't use that to reflect on the signs of Allah. They don't use their hearing to listen to the verses of Allah that are being recited. And they don't use their eyesight. وَعَلَى أَبَصَارِهِمْ. Even their eyesight, they have basically totally neglected the use of that as well. They don't look at the signs of Allah. وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, as if there's a veil between them. Allah says, وَكَأَيٍّ مِّنْ آيَةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. in Surah Yusuf. There are so many signs in the heavens and earth. They just pass by those signs as if, and they give it the blind eye, and they turn their back to it. وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And for them there's a grievous punishment that is awaiting them. Now we see that many kuffar, they wake up and they do embrace God's message, and they do believe in Allah at one point. They revert to Islam. So this ayah talks about their condition while they are bent on kufr. But that condition can change. So while they are bent on kufr, no matter how much you advise them or admonish them or try to reason with them, they don't understand. And this is these verses are to console the Prophet ﷺ and any believer as to so as not to despair as to why those people are not listening to you. No matter how many lectures or lessons or advice you give them, they're not listening. If you look at that situation, you might fall into despair and hopelessness. So Allah is mentioning the Prophet ﷺ that their ability and their faculties to understand are basically all shut down right now, and they will not be able to listen to you. If Allah wills, He can bring them back to life. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. Allah says, there could be somebody who is morally dead, or he's spiritually dead, but أحييناه وجعلنا له نورا. Allah can bring him back to life and give him the light, just like He has given other people light. Now al-khatm, khatm comes from sealing something. Mujahid says, the heart is like an open hand like this. With sinning and going against the laws of Allah, it becomes contracted. He went like this. He says one sin, or a group of sins, will go like this, another, and then it becomes totally sealed, totally closed. So he gave it this kind of example. Mujahid gave that kind of example, and this means nothing will be able to enter in it or leave it. So the kufr will not come out, and the belief will not enter in. They will be convinced with the false ideas that they have lived with all their lives. Now, also another explanation of a khatm, he says khatm means as if Allah places a seal, a sign on those hearts that only the angels can see, because the angels actually inspire guidance into the hearts of the believers. Inna lishaytani lamma wa lilmaliki lamma, according to the hadith. So when the angel sees that this person's heart has been sealed by Allah, it has a seal of khatm, that this person at this point, in this state, he is hopeless and does not deserve to be given the guidance, then the angels just leave him alone and don't instill the light of Allah in that heart. You follow that? So it's like a sign. Khatam Allah ala qulubihim. The angels are looking at those hearts, which heart they can guide by the leave and permission of Allah. And they have a sign they see in every heart. This heart has that seal closed for maintenance. Then they leave him alone right now. No guidance enters into this heart until Allah lifts. أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا فَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Allah says, do they not ponder on the Quran, or are their hearts sealed? So if the heart is sealed, there's no reflection or understanding of the Quran at all. It will not enter. But if that heart is lifted by Allah Azza wa Jal, then this admonition will enter. Now, we will stop here with the tafsir dars. So we went a bit over.